You have wondered what you would be able to do if you were the ultimate version of you, right? You would then have an easy time creating what you want, and yes, effortlessly enjoying life too. Now, you may know this already, the influence you have over your reality is far beyond what you've been told. Soon, you realize that your outer world is merely a mirror of your inner world, and we're here to connect the dots for you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GodMode.
Let's talk about the economy.
The economy.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people are saying we're experiencing a downturn, right? What does that even mean? Well, I think every time there's an event described that's going on in society, people expect everyone to experience it, right? It's a strange thing. It's like, oh, there's a downturn, there's a economic downturn, there's a recession. Okay.
Fair.
Should we stop eating food? And the thing is, the truth is, so many people expect other people to experience it. And those who do accept what other people say, because if I own a bunch of news channels and I go out there and I say, you know, the economy is recovering, do you think there will be a behavioral change in the masses?
Definitely.
I think there would be.
It's a fun way of flipping that. I mean, it's the exact same outcome, but one gives you the perspective of, you know what, we're taking steps to make this better. And one is the inverse of that, which then collectively we put our thoughts and our energy, our beliefs towards fulfilling that not positive outcome. So it's like flip that, you know, which is why we're so careful with our language, right? Like I could say a negative outcome, but I would rather say not positive. Why is that? Because it's what I'm wanting to project into my world more. It's what I'm wanting to share with people. I like that.
Yeah, imagine if, and here's the thing, right? There's a sensitive area where should we tell the truth? And what is the truth? Some people are like, well, the truth is everything you can see. But the observer's effect is that what we're experiencing is a projection of the individual as well. So what's going on in the world is a collective projection of the worldwide human race. So if people are saying violence is on the rise, well, first off, compared to what? Genghis Khan time, or like compared to what? Compared to last year, last month? Compared to what region, right? How do we even say it's on the rise? Well, some say, you know, statistically this year and that year and you know, all that stuff. It's like saying, you know, a lot of people have this funny argument. They're like, oh, because, you know, X, Y, Z are happening, therefore this is happening.
Yeah, a lot of people get stuck in those, as we describe them, universal quantifiers too. When they say, oh, everyone is talking about this right now. Everyone's experiencing this. It's like, really? Have you talked to some people in Guatemala? Are they experiencing it?
Maybe they are, maybe they're not, right?
Who knows, right? I mean, we don't know. Like maybe there's some tribes in Africa who are not experiencing it, right? Some tribes in Africa barely even think about their economy and something like that. They're much more basic lifestyle. So when someone says everyone's experiencing it, they're talking most of the time about their direct circle, their
or even
world,
just
right?
themselves.
Yeah. And they're projecting on others.
Here's the thing. If we begin to say everyone's experiencing a downturn economically, the big issue is the person is not taking responsibility for their own life. Because if everyone's experiencing it, there's nothing wrong. If they find themselves in a tough spot, they don't have to fish themselves out. They don't have to find a way to swim out of that whatever illusion, right? And look, I'm not saying it's all an illusion that the economy is going downward or upward or whatever. But if someone buys into it, their micro behaviors are going to align with that belief, right? And if someone says everyone's experiencing it, what the problem is then, well, you don't have to make changes because it's not your fault, right? It's not your fault. And everyone's experiencing it. Therefore, you can have a downturn. You could just be lazy. You could just not be flexible and learn and invest in yourself and become a better, you know, become a better whatever you're doing, right? And because of that, People find reasons to not advance and improve. And when that happens, of course.
You have this story that I love, and it illustrates this notion where it's like, if I do something that everybody else is doing, then if it doesn't go well, I'm like less to blame. And so I'm more inclined to like hop in. Someone would be, right? So the story was, you're in New York City. We were missionaries, right, on these service projects that we used to do. And everybody knew that the way to go about it was to knock those doors, to just do the same rote systemic down the hallway, try and get that connect with somebody. And I love it because you didn't describe that. You're like, this is not efficient. Like, why are we doing this? And it's like, oh, well, this is what we always do. This is how you find people. And you're like, no, there's got to be a better way. But the reason that they wanted to do that was because if it wasn't effective, then the missionaries were like, well, I still did my job. I still did my part. But then you were like, well, there's got to be a smarter way. So you came up with like language classes and like all these really clever things. Then you had like phenomenal response. And so it was just like, you were determined to not go with the flow and just say the same things and do the same things. You wanted results. And if you want results, you're inclined to look for what it is that gets you results. If you don't want results, you're going to look for some reason to not worry about it. Like, you're going to find what is kind of the platitudes that people are saying so that I feel less bad if it doesn't work out my way.
Yeah, I would say people just wanted to be lazy mentally. Not all people, some people, right? And those same people are the ones that are affected the most by what is so-called economic downturn. And look, there's no other way to put it easily. These people could have good hearts, good intention, hardworking people physically, but the hard work that they do in the physical is literally to compensate the lack of work mentally. Right? And I'm not saying like they're not smart. There's a fine distinction. These could be brilliant individuals that are very smart and good heart, just great values, great individuals like my father. But mentally, emotionally, he did not find a way because he was stuck in the old program of this is how it is, instead of finding new ways to absolutely resolve what was going on. Now, let me say this though. I found out in the last couple of years why my father thought that way. And it's interesting because all of us, right, have parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on and so forth for us to exist. These predecessors of ours went through some dark periods, right? And in fact, how many world wars were there in the last 100 years? Or regional wars that affected individuals, and even, what we called in the US, the Great Depression. How many individuals or parents or grandparents or their parents were affected? Many, too many, right? That being said, not going to blame the past. When my father grew up, he grew up in a household where his father was captured and worked for, I think, 11 or 12 years. So my grandfather was freshly married and went to Southeast Asia on a boat for business. This is way back in the day. And then I think that was like 30s or 40s. Anyway, he was captured and worked without, I think he worked as a slave. That's what my father said. Without any compensation, without anything, just captured, no communication with the family for 11 years.
So just one day he's gone.
Yeah, like literally 11 days after he got married, he was captured for like 11 years. Weird, right? Crazy, not weird. Like, and it's terrible. And the whole family thought he was gone, right? And my grandmother at the time hadn't even had any kids. Went and adopted my uncle, right? And some other children. I think my first uncle, my aunt, they were both adopted. Now, I brought this up because think about in a household where previously entrepreneurship was the main theme, merchant doing business overseas, all of a sudden the world wars, right? And my grandfather was literally captured and worked as a slave for like a long period of time. And then what he would tell his kids, what would he tell his kids? And not even consciously, he was unconsciously probably communicating certain things to keep them safe, right? And so my father grew up in a household, no, entrepreneurship is not safe.
Wow.
Right? And so, I mean, he's a brilliant guy, actually. There's a lot of attributes, incredible heart. But think about how many wonderful human beings out there, just good people, hardworking Americans and or, you know, other nations, citizens, right? But because their family were plagued and or influenced, impacted negatively by the wars. And I have to say, wars oftentimes impact people in a way that normal citizens really can't do that much, even if they're flexible and all that, right? At the moment of the war. So long story short, well, there's an impact negatively, right? Sure, there are ways for those people to find a way out of those situations. And eventually they did, right? But look at us now. How many of us in this world have parents or grandparents or great-grandparents that were impacted by one of these events? And so think about the programming that they pass on. So certain people unconsciously, based on these programming, try to avoid opportunities. So when there's an economic downturn, they follow the flow of society or other people, the masses, and or whatever, you know, is perceived as the masses experience, because that's the safe way to go.
And most of the time, the masses are getting the message or following the message of just work harder. You know, just it's a grind. There's going to be suffering. We talk about a lot. There's going to be the hero's journey, right? And you said something very important earlier that really struck me when I first started training with you. It's the lack of precise mental work that they're doing. Rather than working hard physically, it's to compensate for the lack of precise mental work. And it makes sense. We know that most people are doing the best they can with the resources they have available to them, right? And that's why Upgrade is so valuable, because you don't know what you don't know until you come to a training like ours, and then you have those resources. Now that I have these resources, I feel it's my responsibility all the time to get the results for me, because it's like, I know how to reframe myself, and our clients feel the same way. So if you wouldn't mind, let's go back to that a little bit, because you talked about the programming and you gave an example of your father and grandfather, right? How that the programming and the beliefs from the war can get passed down, and how it can nowadays people can be like, oh, I just need to work harder. Like, and what do you mean by more precise mental work though? Let's talk about that more.
Yeah, absolutely. Think of lasers versus just a light bulb. One's very precise. One is just, you know, light everywhere. A good metaphor that I think would illustrate it in a different perspective, and then we'll come right back to this, I think will give our audience a very good understanding, is imagine this. Imagine, let's say all three of us went and bought a computer. Let's say we spent a decent amount of money. It's a personal computer that we bought to play a video game, let's say, yeah, or music production or anything, right? And let's say we spent $10,000 on this computer. Very decent computer, very fast, and can do just about any modern tasks, right? But then, let's say Brady goes and installed one of the operating systems that came out in the 80s. And we're running the latest operating system. And then one day we're like, you know, we're playing some advanced games that are like super real. We could put on VR. We're like, wow, this is mind blowing. This is so real. And then Brady comes over with his computer and he's like, what is happening?
Super jealous.
Why does that work so well?
I spent so much money. I bought the same freaking computer. How is it that you're doing this and I'm playing Snake or Pong?
Yeah, and it's buffering. It's struggling.
What's going on? We have the same RAM. We have the same memory. Like, we have the same hard drive. Why is that, right? It's the operating system, right? One is built to take advantage of the hardware. One is actually archaic and based on old thinking. And so if we think about the human race, the current human condition, there are a lot of people running the OS, even with the best intention in mind. They could be running an old OS. And that caused them to not be able to take advantage of existing resources. That's why the economic downturn is so scary to them, because they don't know, like all they know is they don't even know they have this magnificent machine, first off. All they know is they're running this machine that can only handle so much. And their economic, literally what they collect into their bank account and what kind of opportunities they experience are literally mapped to their operating system. And so their operating system is saying, we can only play one of these ancient games that came out in the 80s or who knows, right? That these, and maybe you can only get a display, like even if you have an awesome display, maybe it's only black and white that you can see. But over here, Michael and I are experiencing the latest and the greatest, and we're like, this is so fun, this is amazing, right? And we're using the machine properly, right? Because the operating system's there. Now, this simple metaphor is very much a good depiction of what's going on. People get these fears of loss of opportunities or not being able to make money or not being able to experience the life they want or having trouble in their relationships or can't close clients. All these things, they are actually a direct result of their operating systems not being programmed to leverage and optimize what's in their hardware. They can't use their hardware properly. They can't take advantage of even a small percentage of what they're capable of. And that's why so many people go around saying, I just want to live up to my potential. But they have no concrete way of doing that, right? Upgrading the operating system is literally the way. And going back to your question, precision happens when you have an OS that supports what the hardware can do.
That's why so many of our clients, and I think people who get introduced to us to, when they say to us, I want to live up to our potential, and they tell us what that they think it is, and we're like, you can do more. They're like, what? Like, I can see the shock on their face when we're like, you got to go way bigger. And they're like, well, I could never do that. I've never done that in the past. And they're projecting what they've accomplished in the past, or maybe not even what they have accomplished, what they think they could, based on, as you said, family beliefs and stuff like that. Right. So their ceiling or their view of what their potential is it could be so much more. It could be the latest computer, right? It could be their latest operating system in the VR. I just don't know it yet.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about what we do is that we get to witness the magnificence of our, what these people can do by being a programmer. We help people optimize their operating system so that they can be the ultimate version of them. And, we had a client one time was like, hey, I know you don't invest like me, like in private equity, and you don't invest, the amount that I do. What makes you think, and he's being genuinely, he's genuinely asking this question. And he's like, what makes you think you can actually help me? He's not challenging us, but at the same time, he's like, I want to know, right? I'm like, look, if you want investment advice, for example, how to grow your investment firm, I'm not the dude. Like, I'm not the guy. You got friends doing $100 billion funds. Those are the people you want to ask. I'm the programmer. If you want me to operate in a way that helps you optimize your operating system so that you can do what your friends can do sooner, more predictably, I am here to unlock your true potential. That's what we do. Upgrade is literally here to help you upgrade your software, your operating system. Yeah. We're not here to give you any investment advice or how to run your business better or relationship advice. Actually, even if we have a course in relationship in the future, or a course on, like currently we have a sales guide, like any of those trainings really is how do we optimize your operating system in such a way that allows you to leverage your skills. That's why when we launched Sales God, I said specifically, hey, look, this is not for beginners. If you're good at sales, come to the training. If you're great at sales, definitely come to the training. If you suck at sales, if you're a beginner, don't come to the training. This is not for you, right? And sure, like if your goal actually justifies the investment, we could talk, but no guarantee that we would want that in the environment for the group, right? Because we want an environment full of really good salespeople, and then we help them elevate to sales guy. So here, it's like so much of the world economy is based on people's operating systems. So if we can consistently upgrade people's operating systems, it's very predictable. The behavior, the human behavior comes out of their operating system. But the problem is right now, there's an extremely unpredictable difference, major difference, even within the same country, of people's operating systems. So how do we say the economy is going to stay growing, right? Or stay tanking? You don't. I think that a lot of it is, can we elevate the true human condition, which is their operating system? And if we can, people can truly take advantage of their hardware, who they are, what they can do, and their knowledge and their skills. And really, I think human civilization would grow thousands of years in a matter of decades.
I think that's what our main thing is to be a mirror for people to look inside themselves and be like, what's the best investment that I can do right now? And it's going to be in themselves, right? Many people talk about the economy in terms of like, oh, is real estate the best investment right now because the economy is quote unquote bad? Is Bitcoin the best investment right now because the economy is bad? They're looking at all these different things. Best investment is going to be you and yourself and how you, as we're talking about, upgrade your own operating system. So then your view of the economy is better. The options, the opportunities, the people, the resources are now more abundant because you've invested into yourself first. So upgrade is here to be that mirror, to be like, we can help you unlock your true potential by investing in yourself first.
Yeah, invest in the operator, right? Invest in the operator, invest in the operating system. Everything else is predictable. Right. If the operator and the operating system is elevated, right? I think a big thing about scarcity, during a so-called economic downturn, people experience this scarcity, this mindset, this feeling that causes them to be like, oh, I can't, I shouldn't. The wonderful problem and opportunity that exists within that is that scarcity is a necessity-driven, away from motivation type of thing. Mm-hmm. And scarcity exists, back to our scenario. If you come to us and you have this magnificent machine, but you run an old OS, really old OS, and you look at us and you're like, I have scarcity, right? So when there's scarcity, there's a contrast. It actually illustrates what humans are capable of.
Right.
Because when there's scarcity, that means there's a comparison of something abundant, right? Because during a so-called economic downturn, I'll just say it, there's a higher contrast of those who are doing well and those who are not economically. And instead of being jealous and being scarce and be like, I can't make the money like most other people in the masses, consider this is an opportunity to become the most elite version of you. Because someone else knows smarter than you can create that. And another note on scarcity, the whole reason scarcity happens is a bunch of people running OS that are really old and not operating well. If everyone has an advanced OS, everyone would be abundant, right? I think the greatest news of this era is that with the technological advancement, we have a very clear understanding that, look, if human operating systems do become more advanced and do become, well, something that can unlock our true potential, which it can, right? Man, I think the incredible future ahead is something that it tastes sweet just to even consider. It's like this so-called economic downturn is a joke compared to the abundance that's coming. And I'll say this in perspective. Like, imagine if we could, like, let's say, Brady, let's say you are about to come into $1 million.
I think I am.
You are.
Yeah.
And let's say today you lost $10. Would you be so mad and obsessed about the $10 you lost if you knew $1 million coming?
No, the contrast there would make the $10 not hurt at all.
And the certainty doesn't come from someone guaranteeing that $1 million. It comes from you being the best version of you, having the operating system that's actually the best guarantee, right? That you know how to make that $1 million and collect that. The current condition of so-called economic downturn, people losing jobs and money or business opportunities not happening, is not to speak on the external things, but it's actually a mirror pointing inward, like Michael's saying, a mirror pointing inward and saying, are you actually leveraging your true potential? Because the only reason you should be scared during an economic downturn is if you're not leveraging the best version of you. Your operating system is not the best version you can be.
I mean, that says it right there. It's like with the person that came to you, it's like, well, what can you teach me about investing? That's not the point. I'm showing you how to be
the best
the best you. And it's like, we've gone through, just consider the last couple of years, right? There's been a lot of global turbulence that everyone has been impacted by, but also a lot of people were winning. Like it was just a matter of how you went through it, right? The whole thing was just about, did you let yourself pause because these were the circumstances and all these things were happening? Or, I mean, there was a huge wealth transfer that happened. A lot of people made fortunes in the last 2 years, a lot. Anecdotally, it's like the times that these quote unquote economic downturns happen, there are so many fortunes to be made. I mean, it's like you are finding a new opportunity, or there's a shift in the landscape. So now, there's this new thing that you saw that no one else noticed. More people are going online, more people, there's all kinds of opportunity. And so to assume that because the news is saying that this or that is the dynamic around you, and so you must be in alignment with that system, that belief, this collective concern, why?
I heard something interesting that was on an article. They said that Elon Musk said this, right? And Elon said, well, this is what the article said, so I didn't hear from Elon directly, but the article said that Elon mentioned that the periodic economic downturn, it actually purges the business that don't deserve to exist. Now, here's what I think. It's what's even more specific that I want to say is it purges the programs that shouldn't exist if people are willing. And so any business or any people, any group, any small, medium, large business, if there are individuals who are willing to make their business the best business by upgrading their own programs, they are going to find that they're just going to be fine. Not only will they just be just fine, they will be thriving, because whenever so-called a downturn happens, like you said, there's wealth transfer. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are going to be in that state of scarcity or fear, or they're immobile, right? They're not moving. So those who get into a resourceful state, because there are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states, those who get into that resourceful state and upgrade their operating system, what happens? They're going to win. So instead of purging, I mean, I'm not going to say what businesses are going to be purged or not, right? What I do think is it's a great and grand opportunity for us all to purge programs that no longer serve us and then upgrade our operating system.
I
was just going to add to that. I think those that do, they become more giving to others too, right? They become more loving to others too. And this is not about like saying, oh, there's an economic downturn, there's opportunity to take advantage of people. No, this is about changing the lens of what the opportunities are for you, and then how you can help other people in return.
To lift one another. This is a prime opportunity to give, to help others.
The energetic exchange, when you realize that's massive. I think that's what is part of the vision and the mission value that you've ingrained with Upgrade, is that, hey, if you're taking advantage of your full potential, like your truest full potential, and if you are looking for resources that we've created to help you unlock even a version that you didn't even know, then you're going to help others. It's naturally going to spread. And that's what we're talking about. That's how it leads back to the economy. Now the economy is going to look better. Now the economy is going to feel better.
Yeah, the economy is just an external projection of how we're doing together collectively. So we must, for long-term solution, help elevate one another in this world, upgrade humanity. I think that's the long-term solution for solving this problem that we call economic downturn. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. Looking forward to the next episode. For now, as you get to know yourself, as you get to know this, what's going on in your life, I think the best thing to do is upgrade yourself, because this is going to be the best time.
There's a fortune to be found right now.
Absolutely.
There's something.
Time is now.
Literally, be the best version of you. Go find it.